Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I wish I'd have known then they could have got up with each other. But Mo, I definitely understand what you're saying about the cap rates and all that good stuff based upon the areas and so forth. So that makes a lot of sense there. I think what I was asking is what are some of the challenges around managing mobile home parks?
Challenges, risks. Yes, yes. So great question. Yeah, I don't love to just talk about all the good, right? There is bad, and it's funny because when I got into mobile home parks, partly, not solely, but partly was, like apartments, you deal with all the repairs and maintenance and tenants, and I was always hearing, oh, you just own, if you sell the home, you only own the dirt and you just collect on the dirt and you lease the land and there's no maintenance. And that is, oh my gosh. Yeah, well, let me tell you, that's you definitely own the dirt, but you don't. You still got plenty of headaches and plenty of work. It's not just a passive own the dirt and collect on the land. So with that, yeah, with that being said, there's the park owned home, and before I start going to hum along here, like on park owned homes versus tenant owned homes, are you familiar with the those acronyms like POH and
Yeah,
RT?
I got the basic terms. I know park owners like
Got,
you guys own it, tenant own it, they own it. Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah. So the risks and really challenges, more, I want to say risks, like challenges uh, would be on a conversion. So but that's where the value is, right? Any challenge or issues, that's where we can find opportunity. And so we've found one of the biggest challenge is on vacant pads. So if you, let's say, like right now, we're on a 39. We'll just use a real time example. Um, the 39 spaces, there's 22 vacant pads, meaning not home at all, just a vacant concrete pad, right? So the challenge is getting homes on pads, sourcing those, setting them up, skirting them, hooking up, and then filling those with residents, right? You hear that from a broker, and I know you're I'm a broker too, Sean, here in Florida. So nothing against us here, but it might be, you might see in a broker package, oh, just fill 22 homes. Well, unless you've done it, right, you don't know what you don't know, and it's tough. So, and you always run into problems. So we've done that now. I'd say 80% of our deals have been very heavy lifts in that capacity of having to bring in and fill those pads, or it's an existing park owned home that we've had to convert, sell as either lease to option to purchase, right, or interchangeably we call rent to own type, where we offload. That's obviously easier, right, than bringing an entire new home, setting it, skirting, and then filling it. But to convert it doesn't always go as easy either. I always thought you could just say, hey, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, here's a home for free, right? And then we just collect on the lot rent. Well, it's crazy because some renters, they're just renters. They don't want to own anything, right? They you literally could hand it to them for free and they say, I don't want to own this at all. I don't want to own. So, that is a challenge that a lot of people don't maybe realize walking into it, because yeah, because I mean, me personally, I wouldn't even think. I'd be like, damn, if someone gave me a home, I'm living there already, I'm renting for 750, and they're giving it to me, and I only have to pay 395 lot rent. Like that sounds like a good deal. Get sign me up. Now I'm a homeowner, so so that's a challenge that really it's not considered a lot when I mean, we've been doing this now for a little bit, and it's still, we can't put a finger on. We're like, how are they not? So we have found ways to offer and have programs to incentivize, but at the end of the day, that you're still going to have people that just leave, right? So we always underwrite conservative vacancy and move out, and assume that, hey, no matter what we do, there's going to be people that just when they hear that we're wanting to sell these or offload these park owned homes, and they're just going to leave. So we do factor that into our model, and we've now compiled over the years of some data that shows, hey, once they own this home, they're there for 14 to 20 years. They're not going anywhere. But maybe they're park owned homes, and then 10% vacate, or 20, whatever the numbers are, and it does fluctuate. But those are the biggest challenges. Is one is getting the homes, raising the capital to get those homes on, and we've now done it probably brought in 50 plus homes. So we've got a pretty decent idea of how much to expect, even on a worst case scenario. So we always budget, worst case. And then, again, turning around those park owned homes. Fortunately, there's only 5 park owned homes in this 39 site that Mark shot over. But it is a big lift with putting in new homes. So that's why we though got it for $500,000 for 39 sites, 12,000 a sites units, buying it right for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense there. Now, maybe a silly question. Mark, I don't know if you might be on speaker and get some feedback. I think when I was actually talking to you, I don't know. You can try to mute yours. Are you guys getting any feedback at all?
Good. Can you say that again? I'm in my car on the Bluetooth.
Yeah, I think we're getting feedback, Mark, from yours. So if you don't mind, if one of us is talking, just mute, and then when you talk, we'll mute, do the same. I think there's some feedback on your end.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's easier to not drive with my hands, but I'll park in the Home Depot parking lot. I've got my.
Okay, good, man, good. I appreciate it. And this might be a silly question, but is there usually more value if the tenants just kind of own it and they're just paying like park rent, or is it a big difference when you guys own the units and they're just renting it from you all? Like, I know there might be some debt service on those units or whatever. So which one is more desirable or more has more positive cash flow?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And the answer that I don't love is depends. I'll tell you us, but it really does depend. Like, you might love the park owned home. I know some guys that they love park owned home because in some markets they're getting 1,100, and that's real money. that is real income. That's cash. And so for us at scale, right, to try to get to 10,000 of these things, just to turn everyone into a horizontal apartment complex, it's just a management nightmare. But we bought a 33 unit from an owner. It was that exact example. He was getting 700 roughly per. He owned all park owned homes. He couldn't even understand our business. He goes, "Wait, I just don't even get what you guys are. You're telling me you just want $300 lot rent. Like, you're going to give these away or sell them." And he's like, "I'm getting 700." Like, he couldn't, and this was his only park. And hey, that's a good living. You own 30 of these free and clear or by yourself. Like, that's a great living. So that's where I say it depends. Right. Now, making 10, 20, 30,000 a month, that's a nice income. And again, that's dependent upon business plan. Our business plan, though, and to what lenders look at, they only underwrite lot rent. So they will only, and there's a handful out there now that will use park owned home income as to lend on. And if you own those, they'll use it as collateral. And we just closed on a 195 unit last month for that exact, it was 111 park owned homes. Okay. It was a lot. And the lender used that as collateral and lend, but you will get a higher evaluation, and larger groups will pay a much compressed lower cap rate for having tenant owned homes, because they know they're not going to, our expense ratio goes from 50% if we're responsible for maintenance of these, down to 25 to 30, 42% at the most when we're offloading the home. So no, great question. The value does go up with the tenant-owned home models for sure at scale. For sure that you'll get a much higher, and really that's why we were able last month to buy that 195 unit, because institutions, they didn't even want to deal with it. There was a down the road 13.1 million a group paid for, I think it was 245 sites, and then we bought 195 sites for 5.1 million. And that's because we're taking on a lot of problems and it's a big project to turn. So yeah, great question. And it definitely can value the park more when it's a tenant owned home. Similar like utilities. If you think like you'll hear private utilities, septic versus lagoon or wastewater treatment, somewhat similar. Like you're going to get a higher evaluation and someone will pay you a lower cap rate for having city utilities, city sewer instead of having septic tanks all over. That's more risk. That's more repairs and maintenance. That's more headaches. So, good question.
The opportunity with the syndication. And so you guys, are you looking to more or less, I know you said long-term hold. Are you looking to, kind of have investors and then kind of refinance to pay the investors off, or looking at selling, and 10 years or whatever?
So Sean, do you?
A couple of years, very, very passive.
Okay, got it. So what would happen if you pulled all your cash out of your stocks and you got your money back? Would you continue to make money on those stocks?
No.
So the unique thing about this opportunity here is that because of the financing that we have structured, we have a 2-year owner note with interest only on it.
Okay.
And so all of our investors that invest into the project will get their capital back with plus a return when we refinance in 2 years. Okay. And the cool thing is that we'll keep you in the deal. So after you get your capital back, you'll still get the share in the equity that you had from day one until we either sell or you just keep it. So you'll have perpetual, or at least for 10 years or more, passive cash coming in after you've got your capital back already.
Gotcha. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't take investors out. It is a great question because there are guys out there, sponsors, that what they'll do is they'll, like we do a 60-40 split. So after they refi, a lot of times they'll just just pay investors are out of the deal and the sponsors keep it, right? I don't think that's a good way to have longevity in the space, right? If other guys are out there. So that's where we're, keeping everybody in the deal. We're not swapping the split either. We've seen where guys are swapping it and giving the investors like 20, they're keeping 8. I mean, just there's some crazy stuff going out there. And so where we're I don't say we're being different. I'm not saying we're the only ones doing this either, but we're making sure that we're very incentivizing investors to join us for the long haul. We have investors, they reinvest, and they don't do that by just getting their money back there if they helped us get into a deal. That doesn't go over too well. So good point, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And then give me an example of the 60-40 split. How does that work? Let's just say, for instance, in this deal, I put up 50 grand,
mm-hmm.
right? What does that look like? I see that sometimes, but I've seen it, but I still don't really understand how you determine, based upon what I invest, what I'm getting. Like it's part of, based upon the whole raise of what people have put in and what my percentage is, and it's like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we do have in this deal, there's a minimum investment of $25,000, and so we do have an 8, 9, 10% preferred return that we offer depending on the dollar amount. So if you were to invest over $100,000, we're giving a 10% preferred return. 25,000 to 49,999, 8, then 50,000 to the 99,000. That's the 9% preferred return.
So,
okay.
So let's use some, using that. Since it's straight, more basic math with 100K. Say I did 100K at 10% preferred return.
Mm-hmm.
How is that return distributed? Are there like quarterly distributions, monthly?
Yes. And I know I strayed away from your split question, which I'm going to get back to, but I wanted to back up because I didn't lead with the preferred return. So we can't guarantee anything, right? But I do promise you we personally guarantee these loans. So it's, we get asked, how much skin do you have in the game? We have everything in it, right? Because we're personally guaranteeing on this. We're putting our cash in it. So if there's a deficit for 500 grand, we're on the hook for 500 grand. They're coming after my house and everything I own until they get it. So, I do.
What I will say is this, just to add to that, not trying to be funny,
mm-hmm.
but I like that, right? You guys got skin in the game, right? And you know, some people that sound like getting in this space, they don't really have their you know, names on the line. They're like, you know, jumping in. But I like that. So you guys want it. It has to work.
Oh, it has to. Well, that's it. We don't have a plan B. We don't, because then they take everything we own, and it shows our investors too. Because again, we're heavily invested. We've invested in 19 deals. I don't have my money in the markets and anywhere else. It's all in these communities in the business, right? So, but to go back to the preferred return, can't say there's a guarantee, but the reason we have a preferred return before that split means we are also incentivized to perform and get the investor a 8, 9, or 10%. So in this case, we'll use 100,000 example just to keep numbers on track with one number. So invest 100 grand. That means we will pay out, and we do monthly. A lot of times we'll say quarterly, like we put in our PPM, we pay quarterly, but most of our deals are now paying monthly. Now on big projects like this, we say that 10% is actually going to accrue. So your money is going to go to work. If you invested tomorrow, your money's going to go to work for you tomorrow. You're going to be accruing that 10%. But since it is such a big project, we're not paying our preferred out of money we're raising. Okay, there's guys out there, I think they do that. We're not them. Okay, because we need this project to survive, and we need the capital to accelerate the infill in the project so that we can get those returns. So what we'll do oftentimes is say, hey, you know, this might be a 12-month defer of that payment, okay, but we're going to catch up. So if we owe you 10 the first year, we don't pay it. Well, now we owe you 20, and then that 60-40 split just means if you once we hit that 10%, then the sponsors, right, our general partnership team then now is able to participate in any upside, any additional, but we don't get paid a dime until we're hitting those preferred returns. And then we participate in that split. So you on that $100,000 investment, the total raise in this, just to use real time, is that would be 13%. So you would own, you know, 100,000 out of $750,000 is 13%. Okay, so that would be your ownership stake in that. And so let's say we have an additional 100,000 in net cash, 60,000. That's assuming after the preferred. So all the investors have already hit their preferred, and there's an extra 100,000. Okay, are you following me? I'm just okay. So now 60,000 would go to you investors, and us too. I mean, if we're invested in it, we're on your side too, right? So we're included in that. And that's split on a pro rata. So your 100,000 is worth 13% of that 60. You would get an additional $7,800 that year or quarter, whatever it is, that would be on top of your 10%. That's where you'll start seeing like, oh, we offer a 10% preferred, but we're targeting a 14 to 16% cash on cash, because now your 7,800 plus your 10,000 is what, 17.8 on 100 grand. Well, guess what that is? That's 17% cash on cash for the year. So that's, and I know I'm humming through this, and it's a lot, but